What a fun offseason, guys. And the Chicago Bears were just hit with what I would say is another wave of really good free agency news. So much good stuff to share today. And we've got a pretty shrewd move to highlight, and it involves adding yet another ascending player, a guy coming off a career year. And there's also some contract news to share. And this news, when it gets around the league, it's going to encourage even more free agents to want to immediately come to the Windy City to play. So I'm just going to get to it. The player I'm talking about is the signing of Olamide Zaccheaus. I mean, it's not immediately sexy, but when I hear the phrase from Ben Johnson, no block, no rock, I immediately think of a player like this because now he hasn't been to the Pro Bowl, but he's highly regarded by football junkies like me as a role player, as a perfect fit for the squad, and he's coming off a career year once again. The guy just blocks his butt off, and he also has great speed to burn. But guys, he's a lot more than that. This guy is really defined by yak out of the slot. 506 yards last year with a huge 284 of them being yards after the catch. I mean, this guy can line up in a variety of spots. Now, I still want to see the Bears draft a wide receiver, even on day 3 of the draft, maybe still add a free agent. But if you look at it, this guy was a fun player in college too. He was so versatile, and according to Virginia's game notes, at one point in his career, he was the only active player in college football with 2,000 career receiving yards and at least 450 rushing yards. And if we don't re-sign Keenan Allen, this guy can end up being a really underrated wide receiver 3 who just shows up and does his job really well. And at worst, he's a really reliable depth player, right, in this loaded wide receiver room. So we're talking inside, outside versatility, a very key guy with the Commanders last season, the 3rd highest rated wide receiver on that resurgent team. And if we bring anyone else in, he is a valuable guy on special teams as well. It's really a win-win. I like his fit for multiple reasons. So to kind of recap, this is a guy coming in the prime of his career. Last year, he hit a career-high 45 catches and 3 touchdowns for the Commanders, 2 of them being in one game. He pretty much won the game for the Commanders over the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. And it was also a homecoming of sorts for him because he was on a 1-year contract with Philly the year previous. So it was a little bit of a revenge game. But I just love the scrappiness of this guy. He keeps getting 1-year contracts, and he just fights and fights and fights and continues to improve. And now I think the Bears are getting him really at the pinnacle of his skills. Just had a career 45 catches for 506 yards, 3 touchdowns last season with Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. So let's kind of move past that. I don't want to hype him up too much, but I think he's a really good get for this squad. So let's kind of talk about this contract here. The Bears are sending a signal to the league that they aren't cheap and that they're really building something here, because they just extended Jonah Jackson. They didn't have to do it, but they did. They extended him. They built a 3rd year into the 2-year contract the Rams sent him over with. And this kind of follows the theme of these new additions because it's just not benefiting the player. This is essentially getting yet another free agent, 2 years of guaranteed money with a 3rd essentially unguaranteed. What it does is that it gives the player some security, and it gives the team some stability. It gives the team some choices, and it gives this player an incentive to perform in year 3. It also, most of all, from my viewpoint, it gives the Bears so much flexibility. So now the Bears have the ability to wiggle out of this bad contract as well if the player doesn't measure up. And they're structured with minimal dead cap money as a whole if this happens with any of these new contracts. And this is absolutely brilliant. It's really underrated because the Bears are 2nd best in the NFL with only $3 million in dead cap this year. Such a smart way that Poles has structured and cared for this cap situation now and in the future. We're never going to be in cap purgatory because dead cap space, what does it do? It's super wasteful, and it really can hamstring a team from moving up to the next level. I'm convinced our cap management is the best in the NFL, bar none. Prove me wrong. But let's kind of look at some more details on this. A day after he was introduced, it was reported by NFL insider Mike Garafolo that Jackson received this one-year extension as part of the trade, keeping him in Chicago through the 2027 season. So in all, what the contract is, he signed a 3-year deal worth $51 million with the LA Rams last offseason. Played just 4 games. Started as a team center, and due to injury and actually poor play at center, it just didn't work out. Granted, the guy's got to stay healthy, but when pressed into use in LA, Ben Johnson, when he was asked about it, he was noticeably pissed about how Jonah Jackson was used in LA. Jackson was a Pro Bowler in Detroit. Ben will use him as our right guard properly and not do nonsense like throwing him in at center at the last minute like what happened in LA. It was literally at the end of camp. It might have even been at the end of the offseason. Hey, we signed you to be a guard. I know you were a Pro Bowler in Detroit, but how about at the last minute, hey, we need you at center. So good luck with that. Do a great job. You haven't played at center since high school, but I think it's a great idea. Now, granted, he got hurt, then kind of never got his job back. A couple players ascended, and the Rams line really gelled. But I think we got to kind of take last year with a grain of salt and look more towards who Jonah Jackson was with Detroit, and that was a really positive thing. So the good thing about the Bears, too, they are honoring the previous agreement. Garafolo reported Jackson will still earn the $17.5 million he was owed this season, and he's also going to earn $7 million guaranteed in 2026. So this is going to even further cement the Bears as a destination. But it doesn't signal reckless spending administratively, and well, I just outlined that. I think this is a really good move, and you're also making this offensive line completely solid. I think they're definitely going to extend Joe Thuney. Probably look at Joe Thuney being extended in the same manner, 2 years essentially guaranteed on a 3-year contract, with the last year of the contract being unguaranteed. You're looking at it that way with Grady Jarrett. You're looking at that way with Drew Dahlman. Now you're looking at that with Jonah Jackson. You're going to see that with Joe Thuney as well. So we're going to consistently have these players basically on a 2-year commitment. Some of them are getting older. Some of them have warts. Some of them need to prove it like Jonah Jackson. I think he's very motivated to do so. So through this, we basically got the band together for 2 years. And if one of the band members doesn't work out, that's a terrible reference. But anyways, if one of these guys doesn't work out, the Bears can very easily wiggle out of these contracts that may end up not benefiting us in the 3rd year. And to also do it with keeping that dead cap space very, very low. Just really smart cap management across the board. Just really smart player relations. Like, look, we're going to bring you here in a good situation, but we're not going to touch your money. You're still going to get your $17.5 million that you were originally expecting for the Rams. But also, we're not only going to give you motivation, but we're also going to give you some security by giving you that 3rd year unguaranteed, and that can be exercised. And if like Jonah Jackson gets to that 3rd year, he's still a young man, the Bears can always extend it further down the road. So just a really good situation. You guys let me know what you think about Zaccheaus in the comments. I think it's a really good get, but I don't really think that Ben Johnson is done here. And you guys bear down. It's been a fun offseason. It's going to continue to be fun. So I'll be here with Bears News on the daily. See ya.